Hey, just straight up toast, no butter. Wow, that is that is crazy, dude. I got a little plum candy. They it's like a Chinese thing. They well, first off, there's like Mandarin and then Cantonese, like the two main Chinese languages. Did you know that? Yeah, it's just like they have kind of the same characters, like it all stems from the same place, but like all the pronunciation is like different between Mandarin and Cantonese. They can like split off. So I got this at a Cantonese store, which means it might also it's like defining a language, but also potentially like a cultural thing. It's kind of like I think they use I call this a plum. Yeah, they use like the outside of the plum for other things, but like the part that's like around the pit, they kind of like it's extra sweet, and they kind of just wrap that up, and then you eat that. You eat like around the pit, and it's like a little candy. I don't know. It tastes like they add a little bit of sugar to it, but that's the wrapper. Yeah, they come in like little. If you were to imagine like some pretty small meatballs, that's like the size they come in. This is like almost all eaten, and then like the light part of it right here, that's the pit. That you don't eat that. I'll have to bring you one. Bro. Well, you must have eaten something besides bread today or yesterday. Yeah, you got a lot of color in your face. Oh, you do. That's how I knew you ate something recently. Yeah. Great. One more bar. That was your last bar. Yeah. 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 Well, like food delivery services now are pretty cheap. Like you could, it's basically like you pay like $5 extra, That's pretty good for them to deliver to your front door. No, the Instacart membership is really what I'm talking about. If you commit to having your groceries delivered, you pay like $3 a month, and then you'll get free deliveries, and then you just have to pay for the tip each time. Yeah, yeah. You know that I was doing that. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I would have told you, but I remember doing the podcast then. So okay, just talking on the phone. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Getting harder and harder for me to not say something about Chinese culture or medicine when people are talking. Yeah, I am kind of bumping it down, like just reassessing like my priorities. Like I'm not like changing like the structure of my life, right? I'm just doing the school still, but sort of like circumstances arise in your life, and then you have like your principles, right? Or like your priorities that you've selected. Depending on those, that will kind of determine what sort of decisions you make in different situations. So I guess the last few weeks, Chinese medicine has been like number one, and that's no way to live my life. So it's all just prioritizing, you know, health and music and I guess joy slash happiness above Chinese medicine. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, seems like you have a plan to do that. Has anybody asked you what your sign is? What do you say? Is that what you tell them? Yeah. And they say, "Oh, that's cool." Yeah, you have friends that talk like that? Yeah. Yeah. I think most people doing that are confused. They might be confused for a reason that you might not be thinking of. So, in the astrological system, each person has any signs, right? So you're labeled a Leo, right? That's just your sun sign. Okay. You following so far? But there's also a moon sign. There's a sign for every single planet we have in our solar system. Uranus, they even keep Pluto in there. Saturn, Mercury, Venus. Oh, ever ask me what my sign is, I say which one. And then most times, if they don't say one sign, like, and I don't talk to them about astrology. Yeah, dude, that's when I don't talk to them, as I was saying. I'm already gone, dude. And by the way, how many people do you know that are that aggressive? Yeah, of course, of course. Um, yeah, yeah. I've actually had somebody read my astrology chart, I think 5 different times. No, it's the same. It was the same person. Yeah, yeah. So there's like your birth chart, right? So that's like a snapshot of like where the planets and the stars were in the sky when you were born. So basically, like the person creating your chart needs to know like where you're born, what location, what time, because like the planets are moving, right, and then the Earth is spinning. So like at any given point, like were you born in Bellevue? Yeah, I was born in Bellevue too. So you were born in Bellevue. Like if we looked up into the sky, we would see certain planets in certain locations, right? And then basically like let's pick Saturn for example. We look up when we see Saturn, and then if we were to look past Saturn, we could look at like what constellations were sitting behind Saturn and like the contrast of the planet and constellation like is what these readers are interpreting. Um, So it's based like the position of the planets and the stars. And were you to be born in Shanghai, China, at on that same day at that same time, if you were to look up in the sky, you would have seen something completely different. There would be different planets over there, right? Because you'd be different. Um, so that's the snapshot of when you were born, and then so birth chart, and then attached, like sitting outside of that, you have your transit chart, which is basically like where are those planets now, and where are those constellations now as we go through time. So you have like your birth chart sitting in the middle, and then you have like the planets now moving around and interacting with your birth chart. Does that make any sense? Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, so we have like it's the planets that are moving around in the transit chart. So like for example, Pluto like takes a very very long time to go around the sun. I think it's like 248 years. And so when it's moving through a certain area, it happens very slowly. And so like it's more noticeable when that's in like a certain part of your life, right? Because it's spending a lot of time there. So like right now, it's in what they call the fifth house. And so like for everybody, Pluto is in the fifth house, right? And it's going really slow. But depending on whether or not you had planets in the fifth house, it's going to depend on like how that thing moving through there is going to interact with you in your life. Does that make any sense? Okay. So the fifth, so there's houses. Basically, like you can imagine, like um, if you were to go around the equator of the Earth and cut it into 12 pieces, each one of those 12 pieces would be considered a house. Okay. And yeah, different segments, let's say, of the Earth. Like when you have like latitude and longitude, and it splits it up into a bunch of like lines on the Earth, and just like a bunch of slices on the Earth, and each slice having like different know, aspects of somebody's life. Um, we're just separating people's lives into kind of like 12 categories. So, for example, go ahead. So, is what based on time of year? hmm It's not based on the rotation of the Earth, but the rotation of the Earth around the sun. So that's why we have actually 12 segments because we have 12 months in the year. Maybe that'd be a better way of explaining it. Does that make sense? Yeah, yes, every single month. And here's a good example. Leo is a constellation, which means that Leo is a sign. Okay, and then you have for you specifically, since you were born in August, it's one of those 12 months, right? So Leo is represents the month of August, and since you were born in your sun sign is Leo. Does that make sense? Okay, so now you have Leo as your sun sign, and the way it's mapped out, the fifth, if you imagine like a circle, and then it's like cut into 12 different pieces. The fifth house is the house of Leo, right? Which is like the house of like romantic relationships, of creativity, and of like relationship to children. Okay, so we have the house of Leo representing August. We have the fifth house there. That's sitting here, like, and you can imagine all the other houses going around in a circle. Here's the fifth house, but now the transit. This is like your birth chart. The transit of Pluto is coming and sitting right on top of the fifth house, and Pluto, it represents like really deep introspection, and yeah, we'll just leave it at introspection. So now we have fun and creativity as this house, but now we are like having deep introspective thoughts about our creativity or our romantic life and stuff like that. So that's happening everybody right now on planet Earth. Like it's just that time when Pluto's going through that sort of phase. Yeah, so then go ahead. Yeah, it's what we're calling that is the reductionist model. Okay, and we might also call it like the belief system that's used like proliferate modern science. So like basically modern science, what it is it's like object oriented, kind of forgets that time exists. And I think people who are saying you're this sign and you have these traits using that reductionist model, um, object oriented model of reality. You know what I mean by object oriented reality? Yeah, but also like breaking things down into their component parts and sort of like in the medical industry, like they would say in our medical industry, which they'll say you have this disease. You want your body to not have this disease. What are the mechanisms through physical means in which we can affect this? Sometimes that's like chemically, sometimes that's hormonally, and sometimes that's literally removing objects from your body. It's focused on these these properties like something physical affecting something physical as an effect sort of thing. They sort of forget that like processes happen over time and like some diseases are an accumulation of something that's been occurring for decades sometimes. And so like in the holistic paradigm, we're looking at like all the things leading up into it. We are keeping our minds focused on what is occurring in time. Like we're focused on like what season is this person having this disease? Like depending on the temperature in somebody's life, like that can have a major effect on like the way that your body functions when it's cold in the deepest part of winter, or when it's very very hot and you're sweating all the time. That's like seriously affecting how your body's working, and like that alone is just mind blowing to me that I hadn't thought of like the time of year having an effect on my body's function. You know, um, is that starting to paint the picture of the object oriented versus time oriented? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So definitely the allergies are a good one. Um, what I'm learning is like if people don't like throughout time, like when humans were like they started living inside of like houses, but they didn't have electricity and they didn't have like ways of maintaining like light indoors. You would always have to follow the rhythm of like the sun. Basically, the sun would allow you to see things, and you just always followed the pattern of the sun. And especially in places where like it got really cold and the days were really really short, those days you would hardly do hardly anything. You would like get up and maybe like eat some food, but you would stay inside, you would stay bundled up, and you wouldn't be like using a lot of your energy because like you wouldn't have that many resources, right? You would gather a bunch of resources in the fall, would just live and sustain off those, and hopefully you had enough to make it into spring. And so like that was a lot easier, but now we can power through the darkness, right? We can stay up all night if we want to watching Netflix or just keeping our lights on, even studying. And I think like a lot of diseases have their foundation in that wintertime, like when we aren't, um, you know, just using our limited resources, not overexerting ourselves. A lot of the allergies can come out in the spring when like we have overused our resources from the winter time. Like the spring is supposed to be spring cleaning, there's like opening up, having like more and more external relationships, right? Like the scope opens up, but if you've already been like pretty open in the wintertime, like you're not gonna have like the full flexion sort of experience like in the spring. I think allergies can come from that. Mm-hmm. Chelsea? Oh, nice. Watch it this late in the day? Same. Mm. Yeah. 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 Yeah, so yeah. Why? Yeah. You're just there and don't nothing happens. Oh, I didn't know you had you could affect your neighbors. Lights? Yeah, is it the lights that are bothering you upstairs or is it music? Oh, damn. Jeez. Must be expensive. Damn. Yeah. Well, I don't know, dude. I like getting up at the same time every day. Unless I'm sick, I'll sleep in. Um, that's really important for sleep, like consistency. Um, yeah. Do you have an alarm that wakes you up? Phone? Hey, dude, everyone's different, but I have an alarm clock that's an analog alarm clock. Like it's just battery powered, right? And it has like a little those little things that go around to tell you what time it is. And then it has a third hand where you can put anywhere on there, and depending on where you put it on the clock, that's when the alarm will be. I just have to keep it in the same place every day, and then I just turn the alarm on at night, and then it'll wake me up at the same time every day. When I wake up, I unless I really try to read the clock, I don't actually know what time it is when I get up. So I'm not like, oh shit, dude, it's 5:42. Like this is so early. Like I know it's sometime in between 5 and 6, but I don't know what time it is. Because I have class at 8 a.m. on 2 days a week. I just keep doing what feels good, and like I feel like uh, at that time during this term is working. Like I have some time in the morning that's not shower, food, leave the door, and that's great. Like if I have to, study a bit more for a quiz, or I have to like, just learn more Chinese. Like I have that time. And then like on class days, I'll like set appointments even later in the day. So now I have like extra morning time to get stuff done, and then my nighttime is like, oh, it's just watch movies. Yeah, but it's a choice, and yeah, it's intention and a choice, really. It's down to it. Mm. Yeah, yeah. I think it also matters, like, you know, overall intent of what you're wanting to be doing at any given time. Like, I want to be, working and going to school and practicing like Tai Chi and stuff, right? So like don't have the consistency. I can't do the stuff that I want to be doing. Oh my gosh, dude. Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah. There's no telling what context does. The environment. The environment, dude. You are the environment. Yeah. Yeah. But when you move down to Oakland, then there'll be something about this town, dude. Yeah. 'Cause, like there's certain kinds of like haircuts that people have, and like, is it because of like the student population, like, and their demeanor? Like what? You don't want to say? Want to say it? Hmm. It's just something about the town. You have no idea why. My God, it's such a strange place to decide. Is it like a coping mechanism? Like, if you weren't in mental chaos, like, you think you could stay on that campus? Like, you have to be mentally deranged to like continue to go to that school. All right. Yeah. You see the statue and you decide I'm eating bread. I want to see I want to see like Oh my god. Oh my god. That's insane. Using up all your rations, dude. Man, that's a lunatic. I want to see I want to see like short a short film of like somebody losing their mind at school. And maybe like the later things is they see a statue and then they just yell in the middle of like a square somewhere like I'm eating bread. But it starts out with like a sequence like some spy music playing in the background and like they're in the copy room and they swipe their student card to make the copies and print it out. And then like they cut to class and there's like a couple people with the articles, but then a bunch of kids are freaking out because they don't have the article in front of them. Oh, that'd be great. It's like a montage of the ink rations. Oh, and that's why you can only afford bread is because you're spending so much money on printing. Oh, maybe he's the oil tycoon. That's who the statue is of. Pledge allegiance to the ink. The other school has problems with the ink too. Damn. They got the school has a really big defense budget, but they can't afford ink. Wow. Yeah, I guess ink cartridges are pretty expensive. Damn. Yeah. That reminds me, I was at UW for a couple years, and then I left, and then I went back a little bit. And when I went back, I started to go out into these squares where there are these statues, right? I put out a table, and the name of my club was called the Action Team. I really didn't get any people to sign up for the Action Team, but I did talk to some people. Um, and yeah, that reminds me of being in the square and pledging allegiance to the statue of the dean. What? Oh, they have to recruit for your school to defend against the tanks. Oh wow. Oh yeah. Also a Washington school. Yeah. Yeah, we have a larger population. We're definitely gonna aim our resources to steal steal. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it could be this could just be like the intro to this whole documentary about oil and just the oil industry and, how fucked up it is, oil spills and poor distribution of oil and, you know, unfair conditions for workers and mines and stuff. It could just be like this fictional story about like these cartridges as like a metaphor for oil industry, and we could have like a whole documentary about the oil industry come after this short little spy sequence. Is it an analogy? So you called it an analogy and I called it a metaphor, so were you correcting me? So do you know don't know. I don't know the difference, dude. I try to learn this. I look it up all the time. You know what the difference is between a metaphor and an analogy? No. So I don't know, dude. I feel like metaphor is more complex. It's like in many ways. So it's like the story about the ink would be a metaphor for this oil industry because it would represent that in many different ways. Like if we were talking, I don't know how to come up with an analogy. I used one yesterday. Basically, we were talking about this testing mechanism in hospitals where basically they have like a cheap test that's really, really broad. And then, like, if you test positive for that, they're going to give you the more specific test to see if you actually have it, right? So then I said, like, cheap broad test is like a rectangle, and the specific expensive test is like a square because, like, not all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares, but all squares are rectangles. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. So that was an analogy because the broad test may or may not have square or the disease. But once you take the square test, it will tell you whether or not it is. So in that case, it's a very specific one-to-one correlation between the test and the rectangles. That'd be an analogy in my view, but I just still don't know. Thought you'd know. Hmm. Huh. Yeah. Well, maybe you and Levy can. He wants to be an actor. Maybe he can be he can be running some oil company like in Sudan or something. Where does ink come from? Oh, yeah. We just had to pay no matter what. No. Yeah. Oh, it was too big. It was too big of a school for that to happen. Well, no, too big of a school for a teacher to require such nuanced requirements for a class. Imagine a factory, more of a flat factory model of education. I mean, it's only like 50 cents per page, right? If you had to turn in a paper or something, like you just print it out and not really think about it. Yeah, no, that'd be annoying. And I had free printing at my fraternity, so free air. Hmm. You told her that you know about the Incrastions? That's that's a dude. Dude, this is just one of those things, like if she doesn't know about the Incrastions and nobody tells her, then you're just not wanting to do the Incrastions and she has no idea. So at least send her an email, dude. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Probably has no idea about that. Are you talking to your classmates about how crazy this is? Can't you ask to learn how to use that printer? Yeah, I'm sure someone could help you. Yeah, you gotta email her about the ink supply, dude. Maybe you can just get the combinations for the articles. That'd be a big deal. Oh my God. Yeah. You can print some things out. You can print some things out not in full black, but like gray, and that will use less ink. Yeah, no, no, I'm pretty sure you could change the brightness of the PDF. Just make it brighter and it'll be less ink. Full size page. Everyone else in the class needs to do wall sits while they wait the person to go print out the picture. Oh, she has like ultimate control over the ink rations. And it's like in Harry Potter when they go like it's 50 points to Gryffindor, and then they put all the rations and the people in the class, and you see it drop down by 50 points. I'm just imagining like you have your like let's say you start with a full bar, but then she has the full page diagram, and it just immediately drops to half, and like an alarm goes off in the printer. Warning. No. Oh. Are you sure that's your ration? Not like that printer's ration? Hmm. Bro, this is when liberalism goes too far. Yeah. It just feels like the social credit system in China, you know? A little bit. Yeah, dude. It's crazy. The system in China is basically like almost I think there's cameras like everywhere and it knows when you enter like rooms and stuff and like there's like maybe certain stores you can't shop at if you have a low credit score like your whole life has like a record, right? Um I'm just imagining your the ink rations like let's say like somebody at your school like did something academically dishonest like usually if you like plagiarize on a paper like they could fail you in the class or they could kick you out of the university like the board is kind of on the fence about whether or not to kick somebody out and then some guys like check his ink rations. The dude has only this much left and actually he's just printing something as they look at it and it drops to zero and the head of the board just slams the gavel down. Expelled. Oh, damn. Oh, for the remainder of their time at the school, they have no rations. The slow, painful death of bad grades. Well, that reminds me back to the feudalism days when there actually were like food rations. Um, Perhaps one of the punishments would be for this guy in modern times would to be like put in that in the little thing where you have your hands in your head, like in the square behind the arts building. And people would be throwing like tomatoes and stuff at him. And that's the only way at the school where you can get more rations. Yeah. You could never go above half though. They'll never put you above half. Well, it's good to be back, dude. Back. I mean, missed 1 week, right? Yeah. When I'm feeling a little bit better, I'm gonna send you those. I'm gonna send you those headphones when I'm feeling a little bit better. But that I'm sending you the mixing headphones. Oh, you're gonna get a backup set. Okay, cool. Oh, dude, I mean, I have 4 pairs, and I'm sending you one. So yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes sense. Oh, we got just a plug to Hidden Tricycle. We got a new album coming out by the end of next week. By February, it'll be out, and we have a single out right now. We actually have two singles out. One of them is called "Life Is Beautiful," which just broke 1,000 streams recently. Which is in the first week, I think it got 1,000, which is pretty cool. And then we have one called "Old Guys," which is really really great, like R&B song about like what do old guys think about. So good, 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 good stuff. But yeah, awesome. Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's either bread or ink rations is good. RSNK. Yeah. 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 Bing bong.